Have you ever looked at someone who seems perfectly healthy? Maybe they have a normal weight, and then you find out they have diabetes? It's a real head-scratcher. Well, today we're diving into this exact mystery, a huge health puzzle called the Indian diabetes paradox. So let's get right into it. This right here is the big question, isn't it? It's a pretty unsettling thought that you could be getting a clean bill of health while your body is silently heading down a dangerous path. The problem is, the usual tests we rely on, they often sound the alarm way too late. So how do we see what's really happening inside? All right, first up, let's really break down this contradiction. What does it mean to look healthy on the outside but be at serious risk on the inside? This is what we're calling a healthy paradox. So let's imagine a couple, we'll call them Mr. and Mrs. Sharma, to see what this looks like in real life. On the surface, everything is perfect. They look fit, their BMI is in the normal range, they feel totally fine, no symptoms at all. But when they did some deeper, more advanced tests, a completely different picture emerged. A hidden danger was lurking, high levels of that nasty internal fat, visceral fat, and a condition called insulin resistance. And here's the thing, the Sharmas are not some rare exception. This is a massive issue. In India, a jaw-dropping 1 out of every 7 adults has diabetes. And what's really shocking is that a huge number of them are lean. This isn't just an interesting medical case, it's a nationwide paradox affecting millions and millions of people. So what on earth is going on here? Well, scientists have a name for it, the thin fat phenotype. It's this bizarre mismatch. From the outside, you see a low BMI, a person who looks healthy. But on the inside, it's a different story. You've got high levels of visceral fat. That's the really dangerous stuff that wraps around your organs. You have low muscle mass, which is terrible because muscle is what helps you manage blood sugar. And often, there's a genetic tendency for weaker beta cells in the pancreas. It's this complete disconnect between what we see and what's real that's at the very heart of this paradox. Okay, so if our own eyes and even a scale can fool us, what about our medical tests? Well, this hidden reality is exactly why we have to start looking beyond the sugar report if we want the full story. You see, here's the critical flaw with the standard tests. Think about your fasting glucose or your HbA1c. They're kind of like a smoke alarm that only goes off after the house has already been on fire for a while. These numbers don't creep up until years of silent damage have already been done. By the time they flash red, your body's been in a state of struggle for a very, very long time. So how does this whole silent process unfold? Let's walk through it. It often starts with a high-carb diet, right? That raises your blood sugar. In response, your pancreas sends out insulin to store that sugar. So far, so good. But over time, your body's cells start to ignore insulin's knock at the door. That's step 3, insulin resistance. So what happens? Your pancreas panics and starts working overtime, just pumping out more and more insulin to get the job done. But it can't keep that up forever. Eventually, those poor little beta cells in the pancreas get exhausted and they start to fail. And it's only then, at the very end of this long, damaging chain of events, that your blood sugar finally spikes high enough to show up on a standard test. But what if we could catch the problem way back at step 3 or 4, instead of waiting for the very last step? Well, we can. And that's what this next section is all about. It's time for cracking the body's code with the right tools. Okay, tool number 1 is a test called HOMA-IR. The easiest way to think about it is as a resistance meter. It's not just looking at your sugar levels, it's measuring how well your body is actually using the insulin it's making. A high score here is your early warning signal. It's shouting, hey, your cells are starting to resist insulin long before your blood sugar ever gets out of control. And tool number 2 is the C-peptide test. If HOMA-IR is our resistance meter, think of this one as the production meter. It tells us exactly how much insulin your pancreas is managing to churn out. So if this number is low, it's a huge red flag that your pancreas is overworked, getting tired, and struggling to keep up. It's another crucial piece of the puzzle. All right, so now we have our 2 key clues, the resistance meter and the production meter. And when you put these 2 pieces of information together, you suddenly realize that there isn't just one way to get this disease. There are actually 2 paths that both lead to the same destination, high blood sugar. And this right here is the big reveal. Let's break it down. You've got profile A. For these folks, the main problem is that their body is resisting insulin. It just isn't using it properly. So their HOMA-IR score, the resistance meter, is going to be high. Meanwhile, their C-peptide shows their pancreas is still working hard, pumping out plenty of insulin.
Now look at profile B. Here, the problem is totally different. It's insulin deficiency. Their pancreas is just worn out and isn't producing enough. So their C-peptide, the production meter, is going to be low. See the difference? You end up with high blood sugar in both cases, but for two completely opposite reasons. And knowing why is everything.
Because figuring out which of those two paths your body is on isn't just some interesting medical fact. It's the key. That knowledge is what lets you move from a generic approach to creating your personal blueprint for getting healthy again.
Because if the problems are different, the solutions have to be different too. It just makes sense, right? If your main issue is insulin resistance, the whole game plan is about making your cells listen to insulin again. You do that with things like targeted exercise, resistance training to build muscle, and a diet that specifically reduces that visceral fat. But if your problem is insulin deficiency, the focus shifts completely. Now it's all about protecting your overworked pancreas, using nutrition to preserve what you have, and sometimes even using insulin therapy to give your body a break. See? One size definitely does not fit all. Now, regardless of your specific profile, there are some powerful principles that help everyone build a healthier internal system. First, build muscle. It acts like a sponge for sugar. Second, eat to match what your body actually needs, not just what you crave. Cut way back on refined carbs and seriously ramp up your protein and fiber. Pay attention to your body clock, eat and sleep at regular times. And finally, actively work to reduce that visceral fat with the right kind of exercise. These aren't just suggestions, they are actionable steps that put you back in the driver's seat.
So we end on this final question. For many of us, our genes kind of hand us a pre-written story. It can feel like our destiny is set. But knowledge is power. The moment you understand your own unique body, you get to grab the pen. So while you can't change your genes, you can absolutely change your story.